This is an overview of the proposed BWI VBE online training program. As you can see, as discussed in Basecamp, the class is split into 5 stages. Stage 1, focusing on how to use the different carriers. Stage 2, focusing on how to teach the different carriers. Stage 3, emulating the essay portion of the written test, talking about different possible scenarios a person might encounter in a group forum type situation. Stage 4, the traditional skills assessment, showing how to teach carriers in videos that an MBE will then grade. And Stage 5, emulating the kind of unwieldy, unstructured process by which RDs help people who have passed the VBE test get set up with the code of conduct, with a copy of the handbook, and with the logistics of paying their dues on the baby wearer. So the idea is to streamline this process and standardize it, reducing workload on everybody involved. So this video, for the rest of the video, is going to focus in specific on stages 1 and 2. Other videos will cover the other stages. Now, stage 1 and stage 2 have some things in common. Stage 1 and stage 2 are both focused on delivering content and testing knowledge of that content using multiple choice tests. Stage 1 and stage 2 are also relatively automated and self-paced, meaning that the person who takes it, if they know all of the answers, can just take a test and pass on. If they only don't know certain parts, they can look at certain parts of the material. As you'll see, this is more true for stage 1 than stage 2. So stage 1 and stage 2 use slightly different content delivery methods. And so another purpose of this video is to show you those 2 methods, because there's no reason why you'll see that it says book here for stage 1 and lesson for stage 2. I set up stage 1 as a book and stage 2 as a lesson, but there's no reason why we couldn't have both of them be books or both of them be lessons if the education committee and the RD committee decide that that's what they prefer. But I wanted to show you how both of those work so that you can see what our options are. So here's what I did for stage 1, and everything in here is a mock-up. There's no real content because that's going to be decided on by the committees involved, just to kind of show what it would look like. So stage 1 would contain, so this is a book. See, it looks like a little book. It would contain books on each of the different carrier types. I only made one for ring slings just to show you what that might look like. So if I click on the Ring Sling Basics book, you'll see on the left a table of contents. So I've got what is a ring sling, and this section would discuss the anatomy of ring slings. There would be pictures of different types of shoulders and shoulder type pros and cons and all those kinds of things. So just what is a ring sling, what does it look like, what's it for, and so on. We might then have something like the anatomy of a ring sling, so discussion of threading ring slings, and there would be a video link here about ring sling threading, types of carries that can be done in a ring sling, and just sort of describing those and when they are appropriate to use. There's a lot that could be put in here. This is just simple text, but we could make, tables that show, during what age ranges it makes sense to do the different types of carries, or whatever we want here. There's really a lot of flexibility in terms of adding links, pictures, other kinds of things like that. So I might then talk about the different carries. I might have specific sections for hip carry versus front carry versus cradle carry. And the idea here with a book is that if somebody just really doesn't know about hip carry, or they don't really know about cradle carry, they could come in here, just click on cradle carry, take their test, pass this whole section. Right? So people are not required in any way to go through any section of this. They're able to pick and choose what sections they want to be reading. So at the end of that, and this isn't in here, but we would develop a quiz to go with, we might either develop a quiz for ring slings, a quiz for, stretch sheet wraps or whatever, or we might have a quiz at the end that's for all of them. Lots of options there as well. And I think other people will be talking about, I know that Meredith is working on something with a quiz bank, so another video will talk more about quiz options. Okay, so that's stage 1. Using a book option as a way to convey content. Now our other option is shown in stage 2, and that's something called a lesson option. So Stage 2 is now about teaching carriers. It's about troubleshooting. It's about frequently asked questions, things that you should highlight when you're teaching, because a lot of people know how to show the carrier but not what to point out about it. So a lesson, as opposed to the book, which really has sort of this table of content structure, a lesson is a progressive series of slides almost. So you kind of need to go through them in order. So here's the beginning of the little mock-up of teaching ring slings that I made. So there's an opening page. There's a progress bar down here. You can't see because I made it, but normally there would be a progress bar. So you go to the first thing. Okay, so here's a common problem, ring placement. People say, oh, I tried this ring sling at home, but the rings always end up in the wrong place. We might then provide a video. So you can see here that I have a link to a video by Rebecca about teaching front carry in a ring sling that I watched and was pleased that it spent a lot of time talking about ring placement. So I thought, that would my page about ring placement. So this is where we're really going to start using the education committee teaching videos to kind of inform people's ability to learn about these issues. So I'm basically assuming everybody wants to look at all of these issues, and there's not an easy way to skip around. Then we've got legs in or legs out, and here's a nice video, again, by Rebecca about deciding about legs in versus legs out in a ring sling in particular. So you'll see that these hit on some of the questions, some of the essay questions in the VBE written exam now. It kind of starts to hit on that content. And, obviously I didn't develop this fully. I just wanted to show you some examples. But our thought here is that people will go through these lessons with the assumption that even if they are familiar with the ins and outs of ring sling usage, that it might help to kind of look at these videos in particular and kind of get a refresher, but also become very clear on what is a VBE, what is a BWI stance versus if they're coming from a new chapter that hasn't trained with somebody else who's in BWI. I know that when I've trained those folks, it's been hard for them to tell, what's their opinion and what's a BWI stance. So having people go through this might be useful. But again, if people feel strongly about it, we could do a book instead of the lesson. This is just another option. So again, we were thinking stage 2, they'd watch the lesson, they'd take a quiz, or they'll take a big quiz at the end, whatever we decide we want to do for that. So that's an overview of stage 1 and stage 2. Other videos will show the rest, but feel free to also PM or post with questions if there was anything you saw that you'd want to know more about, or if you have more questions about what it will look like when it's fully developed. Thank you.